All right, I'm going to let everybody in now. Wonderful. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We're just going to wait another minute here for any last-minute attendees, and then Khalid, we're ready to begin. Wonderful. Looks like we have everybody in. I'll hand it over to you, Khalid.
Thanks, Nat. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today for this online learning event. My name is Khalid Isa. I'm a building energy analyst with the BC Nonprofit Housing Association, or BCNPHA. Today, we're going to get an overview of the City of Vancouver's energy and emissions reporting bylaw, which begins to apply to residential buildings this year. But before I begin, I would like to first acknowledge that we are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and that we are grateful for their stewardship of these lands and waters throughout history. And beyond the land acknowledgement, I think true reconciliation requires all of us to also acknowledge the ongoing consequences of colonization, and to work towards a future with Indigenous perspectives and rights at the center of our society and institutions. So let's get started. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Gurmeet Gera, Senior Green Building Planner with the City of Vancouver. Gurmeet works on developing and implementing decarbonization policies for existing large buildings, which includes working and partnering with the commercial and residential sectors, utilities, consultants, and other levels of jurisdictions. I'm also happy to introduce our second co-presenter, Kasha Maling. Kasha is a program manager at Touchstone IQ. She is responsible for supporting the implementation of the city's bylaw and the operation of their dedicated hub center. Kasha is quite experienced in the benchmarking field and has spent several years training and assisting building owners and their staff on compliance with energy and carbon reporting programs. So for today's session, Gurmeet will take the lead to give us an overview of the annual greenhouse gas and energy limits bylaw. From there, Kasha will take over to provide us with a walkthrough of the energy and emissions reporting process, which is done in two parts. So one will be through Energy Star Portfolio Manager, or ESPM, and the second through the city's Building Performance Reporting System, or BPRS. Then I'll give a quick outline of our benchmarking service here at BCNPHA, which is free for all nonprofit housing providers. And I'll share details on how you can best reach us with questions and benchmarking requests. At the end, we'll open the floor to questions for the last 10 minutes or so. So without further ado, let's get started. And we're going to now hand off the presentation to Gurmeet. So Gurmeet, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Khalid. I'm gonna share my screen now. Just one quick second. Great. Thank you all for hosting us, and thank you all for joining this webinar. I'll be talking about our annual greenhouse gas and energy limits bylaw, a bit of a policy overview. So the annual greenhouse gas and energy limits bylaw, or we're calling it the GHG bylaw for short, it was uh, based on a report that went to City Council in May 2022 as part of a big report with a bunch of programs and policies for large existing commercial and multifamily buildings. The report was approved by the council, and staff was directed to bring in a bylaw for enactment. Based on that recommendation, we brought forward this bylaw in July 2022, and it was enacted by the council. The bylaw has three main components. The first major component is energy and carbon reporting, uh, where building owners are required to monitor their energy use and GHG consumption and report it to the city on an annual basis. The second part is greenhouse gas intensity limits, which puts a cap on the GHG that a building can emit in a particular year. And the third is a cap on the heat energy intensity that the buildings consume. You'll see asterisks against number 2 and 3 because these parts of the bylaws are applicable to only office and retail buildings that are over 100,000 square feet. So for multifamily buildings and buildings that are part of BCNPHA, they are only required to adhere to energy and carbon reporting requirements. So as I mentioned, the bylaw has three components. Energy and carbon reporting is the first and the most, the wider net that we've cast. It applies to all commercial and multifamily buildings that are over 50,000 square feet. This reporting requirement comes into effect in a phased manner. We've had a very successful year in 2024 with our first phase, and now we're moving on to the second phase. And as I mentioned, the greenhouse gas intensity and heat energy limits, they are only for office and retail buildings, so outside of this webinar scope. All these measures are part of the Climate Emergency Action Plan, which again was mandated by the City Council, and we have a target of reducing 50% carbon emissions by 2030 as compared to 2007 levels and reduce it by 100% by 2050. So talking a bit about the timeline. So like I mentioned, we have the energy and carbon reporting regulation in a phased manner. So in 2024, only commercial buildings that are over 100,000 square feet were required to report. We've had a very healthy compliance rate thanks to all industry partners and our help center staff. And we hope to continue the momentum going forward in 2025 as well. In 2025, the threshold for commercial gross floor area will come down to 50,000 square feet, and all multifamily buildings over 100,000 square feet will be required to report as well. And in 2026, the floor area for multifamily will come down to 50,000 square feet. So all in all, we will have about 1,850 buildings that are required to report. In 2024, we were in the range of 250 buildings in private plus government buildings. In 2025, we are adding close to 900 more buildings on top of that 250 that are required to report. And in 2026, another 800 buildings will be required to report. So that brings the total to roughly 1,850. So within these broad categories, residential or commercial and multifamily, we have some subcategories as well. So this makes it a bit more clear. So within multifamily, we have two subcategories, so lodging and residential and healthcare. Within lodging and residential, we have hotel, multifamily housing, residential halls, and senior living community. These property uses are based on Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is our primary reporting platform. And most of the societies that are associated with BCNPHA will fall in the multifamily housing category. So when you are reporting, that is the primary use type that you will be required to select. And then we have some multifamily category that lie under healthcare as well. So to comply with the energy and carbon reporting requirements, buildings are required to submit an error-free energy and carbon report. Like Khalid mentioned, we have two sets of softwares. The first is Energy Star Portfolio Manager. It is provided free of cost by Natural Resources Canada for anyone to use. And Keisha will be giving a walkthrough of the software itself. So buildings are required to benchmark and enter their building's information on that software on an annual basis in a certain format. After building has done that, you should share that profile with the city, as well as do a couple of other steps in the building performance reporting system that the city owns. ESPM is a very good software, but it's not too fluid and not customizable. So all the customization and year-over-year analysis, scorecards, any feedback that we will give to building owners will be provided through that BPRS platform. On an annual basis, building owners have to submit their report by June 1st. So that's an annual cycle. We open the reporting on January 1st. So building owners have 5 months to report their data to us, and our help center is always there to help. And we actively work with you to resolve any errors in your floor area or any other submission that you have. We also will be enforcing this bylaw. So we are providing extensive help, but we also want building owners to put an effort. And if we see there's some lag in effort and no genuine reason and somebody is not doing it, bylaw is enforceable. Enforcement includes a bylaw ticket for $500, and multiple tickets can be issued to building owners that remain non-compliant with the bylaw. Bylaw can be issued if you have not submitted your data or if one of the major components of your submission is wrong. For example, your floor area is wrong or your energy use and GHG emissions are not correct. And if the building owner does not address that, a ticket can be issued. If a ticket is issued, owners can challenge it and there can be an adjudication process, but our intention is not to ticket building owners. We are here to help. We have an extensive help center. So whenever you start your compliance process, please take advantage of all these resources that we have. Also acknowledging that doing all this, especially for the first time, can be a little overwhelming. We are here to support. We have a dedicated web resource and a one-stop shop for both commercial and multifamily buildings. It's called Energize Vancouver, where we have all the details on what the regulation are. We have short videos explaining regulations and its different components. We have videos on each of the compliance step and how to enter your information, as well as other resources such as FAQ documents, previously recorded webinars and walkthroughs. So if you navigate through Energize Vancouver resource page, you will find all the help is there. And of course, we have our help center Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, where you can call or email us, and we'll be happy to support you. So that was my part of the presentation, and I'll hand it over to Keisha for a demo of Energy Star Portfolio Manager and our BPRS. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Gurmeet. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so I got my screen sharing. So as Gurmeet was saying, we have the Energy Star Portfolio Manager and the Building Performance Reporting System. It's a two-part reporting system, right? Because the Energy Star Portfolio Manager does not provide all the customizations, as Gurmeet was saying. So we created the building reporting system so that can supplement any additional information that we can display to you and to us internally for the program. So for Energy Star Portfolio Manager, what you'll want to do is go to portfoliomanager.energystar.gov/PM/login, or you can simply Google Energy Star Portfolio Manager login and it'll bring you to this page. So first, what you want to do, if you don't already have an account, you want to select create a new account. This will bring you to this page. And essentially what you want to do is create your account here using your credentials, username, password, make sure those are unique. As you scroll down to email, what you want to use is a generic email for your company, or you'll also want to use an email that, you know, is someone that's going to be in control of this account, in control of benchmarking the report, checking in on it on an annual basis and making sure everything's updated. So this is going to be a reliable party or generic email. So as employees change or things change with the company, you always have access to that email. You'll also want to make sure that you use your email in here for the BPRS, which I'll show you later, because that's how the two systems connect, or one of the components on how they connect. You want to make sure both of those emails are the same. So once you scroll down here, you'll put in your organization name. Anything with an asterisk is required. And then you'll click create your account. Once you create your account, you can log into your portfolio. And then it'll show up like this on your dashboard. As you can see here, I already have a property added. But what you'll want to do is add your property once you get into your account. And essentially, say you have 10 to 20 buildings on your account, you can add all your buildings on one account. That's what we have people do, because then you can see your whole portfolio on one account versus making several accounts, because that can get messy. Once you click add your property, you can add your property use type, that it's a single building, and that's an existing building. The property use types here, Energy Star Portfolio Manager has a handful in here that you can choose from. If you're unsure exactly how it fits in your property use type, you can click this here, and then it'll show you all the definitions of all property use types and what it includes. Energy Star is pretty efficient with including additional information. Anything that's highlighted in blue, as you can see on the screen, it'll provide you extra information if you're kind of unsure. Once you click get started here, you'll be brought to a new page. And this is where you're going to add all of your property use details. So you can name your property, add the address. Again, anything with asterisk is required. If you hover over these things, it will show you what the definition is. So anything in blue, it'll kind of give you a detailed definition. For gross floor area, what you'll want to do is go by what Energy Star's definition is. So you can click here for details on what to include. And essentially here, it'll say what to include in your gross floor area and what not to include. The biggest rule of thumb here is you're including your entire building, right? Except for any external spaces like patios. You're not including the attic or anything like that. So this will give you a more granular breakdown of what to include and what not to include. For parking, if your building is metered with parking, you'll add that as a separate use type later. So you won't be adding that here. So this is just strictly the building gross floor area. Irrigated area, you'll just put 0 because Vancouver does not require you to report your water usage. Occupancy here, you'll choose what your occupancy level is at your building. If it's fully occupied, obviously 100%, it's half occupied, 50. and any number in between according to how occupied your building is. As you scroll down, you'll see the standard ID section. This is pretty important. So for the standard ID section, you'll want to add your building ID. Every building that's required to report to the bylaw does have their own ID. If you have trouble locating your ID or do not see it, obviously reach out to the help center and we can help you figure out what your building ID is. So you'll scroll down to Vancouver, or you can just start typing in Vancouver. You'll select Vancouver building ID. And then here you'll put in your building ID. For today's purposes, I'm going to use a building ID that I created for a test building, which is V3010. All building IDs are going to start with the capital letter V, and they will be followed by 5 digits, 5 numerical digits. Make sure that you don't do something like this where it's a lowercase v, or there's a space here, or a space here, or a space afterwards. If there are any extra characters or spaces in here, your report will come in as invalid. So it's very important that you fill this out correctly. And then down here, depending on what property use type you choose, this will populate with a series of specific questions that determines how your energy usage will be calculated. So for example, do you have a heated swimming pool at your property? Does it include parking areas? Do you have a restaurant or assisted care units here? For example purposes, I'm just gonna not select anything in here. Just double check everything's filled out. And then click continue. This could be definitely an internal error for Energy Star. Let me see if I can refresh here. Okay, so it's not refreshing here. So what we'll do is we'll go the long way here. So once you create your property, it'll populate here. So after you click that button, you'll be brought to this page, and then your property will be here. You can group your properties or anything like that if you would like. So you select into your property to add your energy usage. And before we add the energy usage to the building here, I just wanted to kind of go over the Energy Star platform because as Gurmeet noted, it can be very confusing and there's a lot of extra bells and whistles that people kind of get distracted with when they come into here, understandably so. So I kind of want to direct you towards what you need to pay attention to for the benchmarking bylaw, what you just need to pay attention to for that. So when you log in, you'll see summary, details, and energy. These first 3 tabs are the only tabs that you need to pay attention to. Everything else is just, if you want to play around and add some extra information to your report, you can. But for benchmarking purposes, we only need you to pay attention to these first 3 tabs. So the first tab is your summary section. The summary section is going to give you your metric summary for your energy usage. So I already added energy to this property just for example purposes, so you're not looking at a blank chart here. So as you can see here, it has your Energy Star score, your source EUI, site EUI, energy cost, and a couple other metrics. For Energy Star score, it's a scale from 1 to 100. A building that's performing at 100, they're very energy efficient, and a building that's performing at 1, like this building is, has a very low energy efficiency. So it's consuming a lot of energy. So you'll be given a score here from 1 to 100. That doesn't have much weight at all, or if any. What you really want to pay attention to is your site EUI. So your site EUI is your energy use intensity, which is your energy use per square foot at your building. So as you can see here, for all of 2023, my site EUI was this number here. And so far this year, this has been my average site EUI. In this column here, this will tell you your percentage of energy use from year to year. If you see anything in green, that means that your energy usage reduced from your 2023 to 2024 years. And then the percentage is the percentage of decrease in energy usage or increase if these are red. So green is good, red is bad. It means that your energy usage is increasing from year to year. The details tab is essentially what I just showed you. All of the energy or all of the property details that you added is gonna be projected here. So if you expand this caret, you can see all of the property use details that we entered together. And this defaults to the year built, which is fine. You leave that as is. And then all the details populate here. If your building is metered with a parking use type, you can add that here. Parking. And then you can click add and then add those use type details. Or say you have a restaurant attached to your multi-family building at the bottom, then you can add restaurant here. So any extra use types you want to account for here, so you can just add in this extra space here. If you scroll to the bottom, the property notes are super important. So this is a way to communicate to the help desk about your report. Say that you had a vacancy from year to year, or your meter broke, or you had a natural gas usage or a natural gas leak. Anything that would affect your energy usage on average at your building, you'll just want to note that here. And then so when you submit your report, this data will be pulled through to our side. So, say like, hey, from 2023 to 2024, I had a huge natural gas leak, so my energy usage, went up drastically by 40% from April to June. So you want to include the specific details there. Obviously, you can reach out to the help desk and let us know that too, and we can make an internal note on your account. But it's always good to be thorough and add your details here. All right, and then the third and last tab here is your energy tab. Of course, I already added energy here for example purposes, but this is kind of nice to see your fluctuation from year to year. And then you got your natural gas is red, and then the electric is green. So to add energy, so we'll pretend these aren't here yet. To add your energy for your building, you'll select add a meter. And we'll just say that this building has one electric and one natural gas meter, just for example purposes. You can select electric and natural gas. You'll always select purchase from the grid unless you have solar or wind. You'll select get started. For the meter name, I always prefer for people to write in your meter name something that is customizable. You can say Fortis BC here, and then you can say BC Hydro here. And then if you have a common area and then you have your tenants, you want to keep those separate, you can create 2 electric meters if you'd like, depending on how you set up your property. You'll choose the units here, gigajoules for natural gas, and then kilowatt hours for electric. For date meter became active, I always tell folks to do a default date to the previous year. So we're just going to do 1/1/2023. And this is a default just to fill it in now, and then later you can add, whatever your first bill is for your entry is what you'll change this to. This is a commonly confusing term here. It's not when your meter was installed or when it became active at your building. It means what's the first bill date that you entered in your property or that your utility uploaded. So you just fill in all the way up to here. Everything else you can leave as is. Create meters. And then make sure all of these are selected. All your meters are selected in here. Select this button that the meters account for the total energy consumption. Apply selections. Once you apply selections, then you'll be brought to your energy tab. I'm doing this manually since I'm actually not creating those. And then what you can do is click into your meter. Let's start with electric. And then you can add your electric in here manually. So for example, this would be like blank, but if you wanted to add your first entry, you can add it here. And then you can put in your consumption. And then when you select add another entry, it'll auto-populate so that all of your entries are including 30 to 31 days. The biggest thing to remember here, if you are uploading your data manually, is that you are including all 30 to 31 days of each month. You don't want to skip a day or overlap more than one day. If you do that, then there will be errors in your report. So you want to make sure it looks like this. So 12/1 to 1/1, 1/1 2/1. Don't feel like you have to break down your data to make it squeeze into perfect dates. As long as the total usage here reflects your total usage for the year, then that's all we're looking for there. So don't feel like you have to break down dates like, oh, if this includes the previous year, that's totally fine. You know, we all don't have perfect utility bills. So say your first utility bill is on January 8th, then you'll want to include the bill before that from 2023, so you can include all 365 days of that year. If you're missing one or more days of all of the year that you're reporting for, then there will be an error in your report and you'll have to fix that. But again, the Help Center is here to help you with that. Also on that note, BC Hydro does offer auto upload. So what they can do is aggregate all of your data at your property. So say you have 150 tenants, they'll aggregate your common area with all 150 tenants and upload that data into your electric account. They will upload up to a couple years worth of data. So they'll do all that for you, and then they'll continue doing that from the day that it's uploaded from there on out. We have instructions on how to do this on our website, and you can also reach out to the help desk so we can give you the proper guidance for that. Fortis BC does also include assistance with getting your data uploaded and aggregated. Their stipulations are a little bit different, so we can help you, guide you to the right person to contact for how you can get your data and request your energy usage from them at an aggregated level or from a bill-to-bill level. All right, so that's it so far with all of the count data that you'll have are just these 3 tabs. So what you'll want to do is next is connect and share your property with the city of Vancouver. So how to do that is to go to contacts up here. And this is the first step in making sure that everything is talking, right? Like your Energy Star is talking to the city and it is talking to the BPRS, which we'll go into. So you'll go to add new contacts, go to username, type in City of Vancouver, search. And again, this will say connect here. You'll click connect, and that will be connected by us on our team. So that should take less than a couple hours to a day to connect. And then once you're connected, then you'll go to the sharing tab. So the connection is saying like, hey, City of Vancouver, I have an account. The sharing piece is actually sharing your data with the City of Vancouver. So you go to the sharing tab, and the only two tabs you need to pay attention to are these two. You go to the sharing tab, click the first share button. You'll select your property or properties, apply selection. You'll select Gurmeet Gara, City of Vancouver here. If it's not showing up here, that means that you're not connected. So just reach out to the help desk and figure out, we'll help you figure out why you're not connected. You'll go to personalize sharing and exchange data. Continue. You'll go to the exchange data section and you'll do read-only access for everything. So from property information to read-only access for all of your meters. And then I'm just going to put none for water and trash because obviously we're not requiring that. Goals, improvements, and checklists and recognition can also stay at none. The most important part is that you're giving permission for read-only for property information in all of your energy meters. You'll scroll down, make sure you click yes here. This is kind of confusing because it's a double scroll bar, so just make sure you keep scrolling. Apply selections and authorize exchange. Again, we'll approve that share within a couple hours to within a day after you click the share property button, and then it will be shared. If you're wondering whether or not you're connected and or shared, you can always go up to notifications here. And then it'll have incoming, outgoing requests and notices. So outgoing means like it's still processing. We haven't accepted your connection or your share yet. Notices, it'll say, you are connected. The share was accepted. So that's what you're looking for here. So that's the Energy Star platform. Again, just pay attention to these first three tabs. And the only tabs you'll use up here are my portfolio and sharing. So now that you have all of your property details and your energy usage in Portfolio Manager, those are the most important pieces, and you're connected and shared with the city. So next, what you can do is create a BPRS account, which is the Billing Performance Reporting System. And you can go to energycarbonreport.vancouver.ca/portal. So when you log into here, you can click register for an account. And again, this platform is the customized version that, abides by Vancouver's specific, classifications, qualifications for the bylaw. All benchmarking programs across Canada and the United States have like a separate area of their bylaw where they put in specific things that Energy Star cannot account for. So that's why we have the BPRS. It's a second data quality check and tracker for us internally and for you. So you click register for an account, fill out your information here. And then you can log in. Register for an account, it doesn't have too many things to add to it, so it's pretty basic. So once you log in, you can log in right away. You don't have to do any email activation or anything like that. First step, what you'll do is claim your building in here. So I created, again, as you remember, this building ID. You can search for your address, building name, or building ID in here. And note that this is on the second tab here. All right, so here's my building that I created in Energy Star. I can claim this one. That is immediate, so you can go to My Buildings, and boom, here it is. Now this is my building, claimed by me. If someone else tries to claim this building, a ticket will be sent to the help center and will help figure out who's the rightful owner. When you're ready to submit your report, you click Submit. This ESPM connection will connect after you sign up in here, but sometimes it does not connect, as you can see here. That's really important. Just contact the help center and we can help you. Big reason why this does not connect is because you don't have your ID in there correctly. You made the request too soon. Like I'm doing one thing after another right now. I just cleaned this building, so it might need some time to see that. So just reach out to the help center and we can help you troubleshoot. First step is confirming your gross floor area and your property use details are entered correctly. So this is, I know it's a lot of text, but this is just making sure like, hey, did you put your ID in correctly? Yes, like read through this, make sure that's correct. Did you add all your property use types? And this includes a lot of good information. If you're ever unsure, feel free to go back to Energy Star and fix that if needed. Save and continue. And then for the second section here, district energy and shared meters. This is just identifying what district energy systems you have, and then which district system it is. So if you do, you say you have yes, it's creative energy. And if your building shares meters with any other buildings. So this is just confirming like, yes, I'm doing all of this correctly. Step 3 is only for buildings that are office or retail that are 100,000 square feet or larger. So skip this section if you are not in that category. If you are, this is an account for these 4 specific energy situations for high energy use situations, right? So for process loads or for restaurants. And again, that's only for office and retail over 100,000 square feet or larger. Step 4 is when you submit your data. So selecting this box is saying that you disclose data and you're giving City of Vancouver permission to disclose your building's data. If you need any bylaw information before you click submit, then you can submit. If it has a gray box, that means that you didn't fill out every section or that your building's not connected. In this case, it's because my building is not connected yet. You submit your report, that's pulled in, and you will receive a notification from our help desk whether or not your report is in compliance or in pending revisions. Pending revisions means that your building has errors, say your gross floor area is way higher than or way lower than what we have in our system, or you did not include all your energy usage. As Gurmeet noted, there's a couple more things you can do in here. You can apply for an extension and exemption in here. So when you click into these, it'll just ask you building information, have you attach the required documents and submit. And then the data snapshot is a summary of what data you did submit. So say you submit your report and you're like, I want to see what they see, like what my energy usage looks like. You can come in here to data snapshot, select this and see what your data looks like. Right now, everything's going to be NA because I haven't submitted yet, but this is kind of like what it looks like. This is your basic building information, your greenhouse intensity, and your data from Energy Star. So it kind of gives you a good overview of everything. But so yeah, that's kind of a quick version. I know it's a lot of information, but happy to answer any more in the Q&A. I'm going to pass this off, and please let us know any questions later on.
Thanks, Kasha. I'm going to share my screen again here, just to wrap up. Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much, Kasha and Gurmeet. That was quite a detailed overview, and just like Kasha said, it's packed with the info, so I'm gonna try and do my best to keep a good pace here so that we leave enough time for the Q&A. So yeah, so I'm gonna take a few minutes just to give a quick overview of our energy benchmarking service here at BCNPHA, and how we're gonna be supporting nonprofit housing providers with the reporting needs. So yeah, so at BCNPHA so far, we've supported over 180 nonprofit housing societies with their benchmarking in ESPM, totaling just over 900 properties. And on average, our portfolio over the last 6 months or so has been growing at about 12 buildings per month. Of course, and as we saw earlier, one of the really neat things about ESPM is their web services offering, which allows electric and gas meters to receive energy consumption data directly from BC Housing and Fortis BC. This is very helpful when you want to keep energy meters from hundreds of buildings up to date, to help nonprofit societies track their energy use. So basically, we're talking about thousands of energy meters in the portfolio. So this capability significantly reduces the workload for updating consumption data in ESPM. Another important aspect for maintaining such a data set in ESPM is that it empowers us when advocating for the sector to target specific rebates or energy retrofit funding. In terms of our onboarding process for energy benchmarking ESPM, there's a bit of a hierarchy for how we add buildings. So we start with creating society accounts, then we add buildings under the societies, and lastly, we add the virtual energy meters under the buildings. And then in terms of what steps you can take to get started on this, well, first you can contact us at benchmarking@bcnpha.ca. And let us know that you're interested in getting your buildings added to ESPM. Or if you already have an ESPM account that you can request adding more buildings to it. Once we receive your email, we'll send you a disclosure form that you can list your buildings in. So that's basically step 2 is you would complete this form and then send it back to us. This letter is basically allowing us to create the ESPM account on your behalf, but you always retain the ownership of that account. Another thing we ask you to send back with this form are copies of your utility bills. I should really stress here that we do not ask nor need utility info as it pertains to the tenant. We're primarily interested in common meter utility bills. And the bill review essentially basically allows us to know which meters we're going to be able to connect to utility services, which meters are going to be aggregated, and which ones are going to require manual data imports in ESPM, for example. Basically, in essence, this gives us a way of developing an action plan for each building's ESPM setup. Steps 4 and 5 usually go hand in hand, and it involves creating the buildings and meters and setting up their connections. So we at BCNPHA have this process highly automated, something that allows us to add buildings to ESPM at a relatively decent pace. Once we've confirmed that the data has begun flowing from the utilities to ESPM, we send the society their ESPM login. If you already have an account, we basically just let you know that your building's addition has been completed. And then last but not least, as long as BCNPHA continues to have access to that account, we will run data quality checks and work on resolving any issues that come up, and they do come up occasionally. So for the buildings that fall under the COV reporting bylaw, or the City of Vancouver's reporting bylaw, this essentially covers part 1 of the reporting process once the building is shared with the city on ESPM. We're also supporting with the BPRS reporting with help and support from the Energize Vancouver Help Center. They are incredibly reliable and responsive, so please feel free to reach out to them as well with questions on this. And it's really great that today, we got a comprehensive overview of the BPRS system, and that's something that I know I'm walking away knowing a lot more about it than before this webinar. If none of your buildings are covered under the bylaw, there's still plenty of good reasons why you should benchmark your buildings and portfolios with BCNPHA. Whether it's tracking your building energy consumption, or you could also compare the energy performance of the buildings in your portfolio so that you can factor that in when you're prioritizing your energy retrofits. If you have more than 10 buildings, we can provide you with a live ESPM meters report to help you dissect the energy footprint and use patterns of your portfolio. And last but not least, again, we have certified measurement and verification professionals on our team who can conduct MNV on your retrofits to verify your energy savings. This has, like I said, this session has been packed with info, and I really want to thank both of our presenters for joining us today. Before diving into the Q&A, just wanted to share our contact info one more time. Again, if you have any questions about benchmarking service at BCNPHA, feel free to reach us at benchmarking@bcnpha.ca, or you can reach me directly at khalid@bcnpha.ca. And feel free also to call the number that you see on the screen. Thank you so much, and I'll give this back to Nat now for the Q&As.
Awesome. Thanks, Khalid. So yes, depending on your comfort level, if you'd like to raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your questions directly to the presenters, you have that option. Or if you'd like to send in a question through the chat, we can do it that way as well.
Natika, also, as we're waiting for Q&A, I'd like to share my screen and share a QR code for our newsletter so people can scan that if that's fine.
For sure.
Yes, please.
So yeah, all as you're thinking about your questions, please, this is our QR code for our newsletter. We do send one newsletter a month or sometimes one in 2 months, and it's very much relevant to our Energize Vancouver content and how the program is going. So please feel free to scan this and sign up for our newsletter, and happy to answer any questions right now.
Thanks, Gurmeet. We can even send this in our email afterwards to all the attendees, just in case anyone misses it.
Great.
If there's no questions so far, I do have one question that maybe we can start there. I don't know, maybe Keisha might be able to answer that one. So in ESPM, we looked at an example where we added the energy consumption data to it. And just to clarify, like in terms of, this is an annual report, so you're reporting on a 1 year of energy consumption. Is there a specific resolution for the data that's required? Or I guess, could somebody add one data point for a meter that's basically the aggregated total for 1 year? Or is the city expecting maybe to see data at a higher resolution on a monthly or a billing cycle basis?
Yeah, so it's gonna be sorry, Gurmeet, if I didn't know if you were gonna answer. Yeah, it'll be a month-to-month basis. So, and that's just how Energy Star wants it kind of laid out, and also how our system kind of runs our algorithms is they want it a month-to-month basis. So like say it's January 8th through February 8th, kind of like full 30 to 31 day bill cycles. The only time I've seen it's been acceptable for like 12-month aggregation just into one entry is when it's for gas delivery. And that's very rare, but say you get your gas delivered like once a year, and it's all you have, that's just how everything is billed, is just once a year. Then some people will put it as a gas delivery, but yeah, so we just want to see it in 30 to 31 day chunks.
Excellent. Sorry, Keisha, if I may follow up just with another quick question. When you say monthly, the timestamps on the entries, they don't have to be, I guess, calendarized, if you may. Like it doesn't have to be, because the reason I'm asking is because for the connected meters to web services, in those cases, the timestamps or the date stamps will follow the billing cycle. And that's not necessarily always aligned with the start of the month or the end of the month. But it sounds like the city is handling that maybe on their end in terms of pulling out the monthly data, regardless of what the date stamps look like on the meters in the SPM. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, that's like probably one of the most confusing parts about the energy data entries is yes, like if you have like a funky kind of start and end date, that's fine as long as it's 30 to 31 days. Say you have a bill that's like 36 days, you want to, you know, kind of force the calendarization, if that makes sense, on Energy Star. So say your bill is like 1/1 to 2/15, you'll want to do 1/1 to 2/1 because you don't want that any extra more than 30 31 days, and then you just keep calendarizing. So you have 12 bills. As long as you have 12 entries, the dates don't have to be perfect, as long as, you know, perfectly matching your bills, as long as they have 30 to 31 days in there. It just gets a little finicky when there's more than 31 days or less than 30 in those entries, but it's okay if it's not true to your bill. All we're looking at is the comprehensive usage, as long as that comprehensive usage is inclusive of, you know, 365 days of the year that you're reporting for or more. For instance, some people have to put in 14 bills into Energy Star because one bill included a couple days of the previous year, and then one bill has to include the, you know, the rest of the year going into the next year. So that's totally fine. We pull whatever dates are from 2023 through our algorithms that we have designed internally.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah, it's confusing. I hope I explained that all right. Yeah.
Thanks, Khaled and Kesha. We do have a question in the chat from New Life Management Services. They're asking, are there any good methods for acquiring the gross floor area? Most of our portfolio's currently existing data for square footage will definitely include our parkades and other excluded areas.
Why don't you take it, Kesha? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, great question. That's another really good question. So gross floor area, always come to help desk if you have any questions. But if your records do have a breakdown of the floor area of your building, say it has, you know, building area is 100,000 square feet, parkade is 20,000 square feet, then and it's metered with the building, then you'll want to, you know, do the building at 100,000 square feet and then the parkade as a separate use type for 20,000 square feet, right? Other excluded areas, I guess if you could be more specific on what other excluded areas that would include, usually the gross floor area is inclusive of, you know, wall to wall, everything, except for the attic. But if you have a blueprint or a CAD drawing or an as-built, those are the most valid documents that we can accept because those show a lot of information on the breakdown, and we can help calculate that for you. If you're not subject to the GHG or heat energy limits, then we can accept gross leasable area, and we can accept that total also if you don't have gross floor area. Say you have a lease breakdown of your common areas and all of your tenants, and you're not subject to the energy limits, we can also take that and help you break that down also.
Thanks again for answering that, Kesha. If there's any follow-up questions or any new ones, again, please feel free to raise your hand or send them in the chat. But while we wait for that, I just wanted to thank all of our presenters here today. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your time with us. And we really look forward to hosting you again sometime soon. And yeah, I don't see any more questions. So Khaled, if it's okay with you, I guess we can end the session for the day.
Yeah, that sounds good. And yeah, I just want to say another thanks to Gurmeet and Kesha for joining us today. This was incredibly informative. So thank you for your time.
Thanks all.
For hosting us. Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Nautica. Take care.